makes a leader in your organisation successful? What makes a leader at a senior level in your organisation successful? What about frontline leaders? What makes them successful? This is a pretty fundamental question that we very often start talking to our clients about inside their organisations. Typically, most organisations end up producing some form of a leadership model. They might already have it in place. They might call it a competency model, for example, or they might need the thing they have in place refreshed, or they might need us to create a completely new leadership model. But there is a fundamental point here, which is that you can't really develop new leadership skills, and you certainly can't assess current leaders unless you've got a clear idea inside your organisation of what leadership success looks like at various levels. In order to try and define what success looks like at each leadership level, what are the behaviours that leaders need to master and then deploy consistently, we have a process at HFL that we use that allows us to rapidly develop leadership profiles for each level of leadership, and we call these things success profiles. The methodology for producing success profiles is to leverage the experience and expertise in the business and to ask the business not just what leadership skills actually got you here, but what leadership skills are going to be required to make sure that the organisation is sustainably successful in the future. So most of the success profiles that we produce at HFL are very future focused. It's a very important distinction. So how do we leverage the experience of the business? Well, it's simple. We conduct a whole series of interviews with carefully selected senior leaders who we think can really inform the process. Now, this process has a whole series of benefits that go beyond just the development of a leadership profile. So how do we pull these success profiles together? How do we define what successful leadership looks like at lots of different levels inside every client organisation we work with? Well, the answer is simple. We leverage the expertise in the business, and we do this through a series of very structured, very controlled interviews. At HFL, we have a simple, fast and highly effective process for producing success profiles. In order to capture what skills and capabilities and perhaps knowledge and experiences a senior leader needs to have to be a successful senior leader in the business, we conduct a series of interviews that are highly structured, and we conduct these interviews amongst the people who know the business best and understand what is required to be successful best, the senior leaders in the business themselves. Every success profile is in effect produced by the senior leadership team if we're talking about senior leaders, or middle managers perhaps if we're talking about a success profile for frontline leaders. So the business itself owns the success profile that we produce. HFL's methodology in developing success profiles has a whole series of additional advantages for the business, and also most particularly for the L&D team and the HR team, who are charged with developing programs that assist leaders to get up to standard against these success profiles. The first thing that success profiles help do, other than produce the leadership profile that we're looking for, is to build senior leadership buy-in. One of the things that happens in the interviews that we conduct, and I've personally conducted many of these interviews, is that once the senior leader warms up, they really enjoy reliving their leadership journey. When we ask them, for example, what were the struggles that they had moving from one level in the organisation to the next, they can usually vividly recall what they struggled with and what they wish they'd been told earlier before they'd been promoted. From an L&D perspective, this is gold dust, because it tells us what are the areas that our leadership program should be focusing on most to ready people for the next move up, and B, it helps us get the sponsorship that we require from senior leaders. Senior leaders very quickly go, we really do need to help our emerging leaders understand this before we promote them, and that will be much more effective for the business. So senior leadership buy-in is a huge byproduct of this success profile methodology. There are two other huge benefits of doing success profiling. First and foremost, because the success profile and the definition of what leadership success looks like comes from the business, it means that the business owns all of the leadership programs that are based on those success profiles. There are two other big advantages of doing a success profiling process with the leadership team in your organisation. Firstly, when we finally feed back the leadership profile or the success profile to the organisation, we can position it as what they have told us is needed. In other words, they own it. It's not come from a third party. It's not come from the HR team. It's their content that really HR and HFL have facilitated. This is a huge benefit. It means that it feels real to them. They feel like they've been brought into the process, they've been listened to, and in fact, they've been the catalysts for all of the programs that come afterwards. As most L&D people will know, this is incredibly helpful. The second thing that this process does is it helps capture the unique language and backstory of the organisation. There's a third benefit as well, which is that it very quickly helps us identify senior leaders who want to be very involved in the programs. And senior leaders being involved in the programs obviously adds a huge amount of kudos and aspiration in terms of the participants in the programs. So many advantages for doing it on top of getting a leadership profile that's very relevant, very customised, and exactly what that company needs at that time. As with everything else HFL does, the success profiling process and building competency frameworks from that, and building performance models from that, and building assessments from that, all of this can be customised to the precise needs of the client. So while we have some very distinct processes that we've got to the point we feel are best practice, all of these can be moulded to the precise needs, budget, timescale your organisation might require. So as always, we'd be very happy to start a conversation with you and share some examples of our success profiling methodology.